Welcome to our Roundtable discussion, where we delve into the multifaceted world of Judaism, exploring its history, beliefs, practices, and its place in the modern world. We are joined by a panel of distinguished guests, each bringing their unique perspective to the table.
As a rabbi, my connection to Judaism is deeply rooted in both personal faith and professional practice. I look forward to shedding light on the richness of Jewish tradition and its ethical framework.
Hinduism and Judaism share the ancient roots of tradition and spirituality. My interest lies in exploring these connections and the distinct paths we follow towards spiritual development.
Buddhism emphasizes the journey inward. I'm here to compare and contrast these introspective pursuits with Jewish teachings, finding common ground and differences.
As an imam, my focus is on the similarities Islam shares with Judaism, whether in our reverence for scriptural texts or our monotheistic beliefs. There's much we can learn from each other.
Christianity owes much to Judaism, as it lays the groundwork for our faith. It's crucial to understand our shared heritage and the divergences that define us.
To begin, let's explore the historical origins and evolution of Judaism. This will form the foundation of our discussion as we navigate through various aspects of one of the world's oldest religions. Sarah, perhaps you can lead us into this topic.
Absolutely. The beginnings of Judaism can be traced back to Abraham's covenant with God, a pivotal moment that has not only shaped Jewish identity, but also has had profound implications for other Abrahamic religions.
While I agree, it's important to note that Christianity views this covenant through the lens of the New Testament, which can lead to interpretative differences.
True. But these differences shouldn't overshadow the underlying shared values and historical connections.
It's fascinating to observe how Islam also intersects here, acknowledging the same patriarchs but also diverging in significant ways. Our understanding of monotheism is one such area of both convergence and divergence.
The focus on spiritual lineage in both our traditions underscores a broader human quest for meaning and connection, though approached in markedly different ways.
Indeed, the pursuit of Dharma in Hinduism might resonate with Jewish ethical living, although originating from a different theological premise.
This sets the stage for a compelling dialogue. As we delve deeper, remember our goal is to inform, share insights, and perhaps challenge our own understandings. Let's proceed with respect and an open mind. We begin our exploration of Judaism by delving into its historical origins and evolution. Sarah, could you start us off by outlining Judaism's emergence?
Certainly. The origins of Judaism are deeply rooted in the ancient Middle Eastern narrative, established through Abraham's covenant with God. This covenant marks not just the birth of the Jewish people, but also introduces monotheism, a revolutionary concept at the time. The exodus from Egypt and the establishment of the 12 tribes of Israel further shaped the narrative, setting the foundations upon which the Jewish faith is built.
That's a profound point, Sarah. The emphasis on monotheism significantly aligns with Islamic teachings. Islam and Judaism share this foundational belief in a singular, omnipotent God. However, the paths diverge in the narratives and prophets that each tradition follows subsequently.
The narrative continuity from Judaism through to Christianity is essential to understand. Christianity sees itself as fulfilling the prophecies of the Jewish scriptures, which we call the Old Testament. It's fascinating to see both the divergence and convergence of our faiths based on the same historical roots.
From a Buddhist perspective, the journey of spiritual lineage and evolution you've outlined, Sarah, strikes a chord. Though Buddhism and Judaism differ significantly in concepts of emphasis on ethical living and the transformative journey of a community or individual is a common thread.
Indeed, Ananda. And it's critical to recognize how these narratives of origin inform not just religious doctrine, but cultural and ethical mores across generations.
The evolution of Judaism, its survival and adaptation through millennia, parallels the Hindu journey in many ways. Both traditions have experienced schisms, reformations, and evolutions while holding on to the core of their spiritual teachings.
But we must also acknowledge the unique covenantal relationship in Judaism, God's chosen people. This idea is uniquely Jewish and shapes the faith's relationship with God in a way that's distinct from Islam's universal call to submission to the same God.
Exactly, Ahmad. And this uniqueness has shaped the Jewish experience, theology, and identity profoundly through history, influencing everything from law to daily life.
Yet it's noteworthy that despite our theological differences, there's a shared appreciation for the need for a moral compass, guided by our belief in a higher power. This fundamental principle guides our communities towards ethical living and social justice.
This dialogue underscores the complexity and depth of Judaism's origins and its interconnectedness with other faiths. It's a testament to the rich dialogues that can emerge from understanding our shared histories and distinguishing features. Let's delve into the concept of God in Judaism. Sarah, could you start us off by explaining the Jewish concept of God?
Of course. In Judaism, God is understood to be absolutely one, indivisible, and transcendent. This is not just a matter of theology, but central to Jewish identity and practice. The Shema, a declaration of faith, emphasizes this unity.
I appreciate that point, Sarah. The emphasis on monotheism is something Islam shares deeply with Judaism. The Quran speaks to this common ground, acknowledging the profound respect for the oneness of God.
Yes, Ahmad. And that commonality fosters a deep connection between our faiths. It's essential to understand this shared monotheism to appreciate the bridges between Islam and Judaism.
While Buddhism doesn't conceive of a creator God in the same way, I'm struck by the emphasis on the singularity and transcendence in your description, Sarah. It resonates with the Buddhist pursuit of understanding the true nature of reality beyond our illusions. Ananda brings a fascinating point to the table. The search for a deeper reality is a common thread across many traditions. Ahmad, how do Muslims perceive this unity with humanity?
In Islam, God's relationship with humanity is through guidance and mercy. The Quran serves as a manual for living a life that is pleasing to God. It's about submission to God's will, which mirrors the obedience to God's commandments in Judaism.
That's an important parallel, Ahmad. Jewish law, or Halakha, is indeed seen as a pathway to living a life in accordance with God's will. This shared emphasis on divine guidance is a profound connector between our faiths.
It's enlightening to observe the similarities and differences in our understandings of the divine. In Hinduism, the concept of Brahman also speaks to an ultimate reality, which is beyond form and qualities, akin to the Jewish and Islamic emphasis on transcendence.
Sarah, does the Jewish relationship with God influence ethics and daily life significantly?
Absolutely, precious. The commandments in the Torah guide every aspect of daily life, from ethics to worship, emphasizing a constant connection and responsibility to God's will.
I must say, the Christian understanding of God shares roots with Judaism, especially the importance of a covenant relationship. However, the conception of the Trinity introduces a complexity that diverges from Jewish monotheism.
Precious point, Elijah. The divergence on the Trinity is substantial. Judaism's strict monotheism doesn't allow for the division of God into parts or persons. This difference is foundational.
I'm curious, Sarah, about the agnostic engagement with these deep religious concepts. Even without a theistic belief, the ethical and philosophical dimensions of Judaism and its concept of God have universal appeal. Ananda makes a good observation. While the agnostic perspective may not align theologically, the emphasis on ethics, community, and the pursuit of justice in Judaism can resonate widely, bridging belief and non-belief.
This is why dialogue like ours is vital. Understanding the nuances of each other's faiths enriches our own perspectives and fosters mutual respect.
Well said, Ahmad. And it's through these conversations we realize that while our paths may differ, our destinations, ethical living, understanding, and compassion, are aligned.
Let's explore the ethical and legal codes in Judaism. Sarah, can you start us off by explaining the role of Halakha?
Certainly. Halakha, which literally means the way, is a comprehensive set of Jewish laws, commandments, and guidelines that govern every aspect of daily life. It's based on the Torah, Talmud, and subsequent rabbinic literature. This legal framework connects the Jewish people to their divine covenant, guiding moral decisions and ethical behavior.
Fascinating. In Hinduism, we have a somewhat similar concept called dharma, which also prescribes a moral and righteous path. However, it's more about achieving order and harmony in the universe as well as within oneself. Would you say halakha serves a similar universal purpose, or is it more community and individually focused?
That's an insightful observation. Halakha does indeed focus on the individual and the community, but it's also about maintaining a relationship with God and ensuring the sanctity of the divine covenant. It encompasses not just moral and ethical behavior, but dietary laws, rituals, and prayers, creating a holistic way of living that aligns with God's will.
This approach shares similarities with Islamic Sharia, which also governs both the spiritual and the mundane aspects of a Muslim's life. Sharia, like Halakha, is derived from our holy texts and is meant to guide the faithful in all aspects of life, ensuring compliance with God's commands. It's interesting to see how both systems create a structured way of life centered around divine law.
Absolutely, Ahmad. Both systems aim to foster a God-centric life. However, Halakha is unique in its rabbinic tradition, where scholars continuously interpret ancient texts to apply them to modern situations. This dynamic aspect ensures Halakha remains relevant across the ages.
That's a commendable way to ensure adaptability and longevity for religious practices. In Buddhism, while we don't have a legal code per se, the concept of following the Dharma, ethical conduct and the path to enlightenment, is central. It's more about the individual's journey and moral development rather than legalistic adherence.
Indeed, Ananda, and that's where the beauty of diverse religious practices lies. It's in how they address the human need for moral guidance and the search for meaning. Despite our differences, there's a shared goal of leading a life that's in harmony with the greater cosmic order, whether it be through Halakha, Dharma, or Sharia.
And while we discuss the parallels, it's crucial to respect the unique context and etiology of each. Halakha isn't just about law, it's a covenantal agreement that shapes Jewish identity itself.
That's a poignant distinction, Sarah. It underscores the importance of understanding the intrinsic links between faith, practice, and personal identity within each tradition.
This exchange highlights the rich diversity in religious, legal, and ethical thinking. While the paths differ, the aim towards a harmonious, righteous life is a common thread. Let's carry this respect for diversity and depth of understanding as we move to our next discussion point. Let's delve into the profound impact of sacred texts in Judaism, particularly focusing on the Torah and Talmud. Sarah, could you kick us off by explaining their centrality in Jewish life and thought?
Certainly, precious. The Torah, comprising the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, is the foundational text of Judaism. It's not just a set of laws, it's a direct communication from God to the Jewish people, encompassing history, morality, and guidelines for living a life aligned with God's will. The Talmud, on the other hand, is a comprehensive record of rabbinic discussions pertaining to Jewish law, ethics, philosophy, customs, and history. It's vast and complex, challenging us to engage and wrestle with its content to uncover deeper meanings.
I must acknowledge, Sarah, your elucidation underscores a shared value between our faiths regarding sacred texts. In Christianity, the Old Testament, which includes the Torah, also holds significant importance. However, the interpretations and emphasis differ. We view it through the lens of the New Testament, seeing the Torah as both historical and prophetic, leading to the fulfillment of prophecies with Jesus Christ.
That's an interesting point, Elijah. The diversity in interpretation is a testament to the depth of the Torah and its teachings. However, Judaism maintains a unique relationship with the text, seeing it as the living Word of God, requiring not only study but a daily lived experience through its commandments.
The concept of sacred texts as living words that guide the daily lives of the faithful is something Buddhism shares, though our focus is on the sutras. Sarah, you mentioned the Talmud challenges one to engage and wrestle with its content. Buddhism similarly encourages debate and deep contemplation of the sutras. It's fascinating to see this parallel across our traditions. Indeed, Ananda, the dialogue and debate encouraged by these texts are vital. Ahmad, from the Islamic perspective, how do you see the relationship between the Torah, Talmud, and the Quran.
Islam respects the Torah as a book of God, acknowledging its significance to Judaism and its influence on Islamic theology. The Quran, while being a distinct revelation to Prophet Muhammad, acknowledges the Torah and Psalms as divine texts given to previous prophets. The Talmud, though not a part of Islamic scripture, represents a scholarly tradition which, in spirit, can be compared to the Islamic hadith and tafsir, traditions and commentaries on the Quran. The commitment to textual scholarship in both our traditions is deeply admirable.
Ahmad, you've highlighted a crucial aspect of our faiths, our dedication to preserving, studying, and living by these sacred texts. Despite differences in our religious practices, this shared reverence for divine instruction connects us profoundly.
Your discussions are enlightening. In Hinduism, the Vedas serve a similar foundational role, offering not just spiritual guidance but also insights into the cosmos and human duty. What intrigues me, Sarah, about the Talmud is its dialectical method, which resonates with the Hindu tradition of debate and reasoning to understand the divine.
That's a perceptive observation, Priyananda. The Talmud's dialectical approach does more than teach us about law or story. It teaches us a way to think, to question, and to live ethically within a community. It embodies the idea that engaging with sacred texts is an active, dynamic process, a dialogue not just with the text itself, but with generations of thinkers and seekers.
This has been an illuminating discussion on the vital role of sacred texts in shaping not just individual lives, but entire communities. The active engagement with these texts across different religions, whether through study, debate, or living according to their teachings, highlights their enduring importance. Thank you, everyone, for your insightful contributions. Moving on to discuss the historical and contemporary significance of the land of Israel, Zionism, and the Jewish state in Jewish theology and identity. Sarah, could you begin by outlining the theological significance of Israel in Judaism?
Certainly. The land of Israel is not just a geographical location for Jews. It is intertwined with the very fabric of Jewish identity and spirituality. According to our tradition, it's the Promised Land, the place where Abraham established his covenant with God and where the majority of Jewish laws can be fully observed. This connection isn't merely historical or emotional. It's a core spiritual and religious principle that guides much of Jewish life and practice.
I appreciate the depth of connection Sarah elucidates between the land and Jewish spirituality. In Hinduism, while we don't have a parallel to the Promised Land, we do understand the concept of sacred geography, places that provide a unique connection to the divine. The concept is fascinating.
That's an interesting point, Sarah. In Islam, we recognize the significance of the land as well, particularly Jerusalem, for its historical and religious significance in Islamic tradition. However, the establishment of a political state based on religious identity does bring up contemporary challenges, especially considering the diverse populations inhabiting the land.
Ahmad, it's a valid observation. The creation of Israel was as much a response to the existential threats and persecution faced by Jews throughout history as it was about fulfilling a theological destiny. The challenge has always been balancing the undeniable right to self-determination with the pressing need for justice and peace for all peoples in the region.
Ananda, from a Buddhist perspective, how do you view this interplay of faith, land, and politics? Buddhism values the idea of peace and non-attachment. The situation in Israel and Palestine is complicated, but from a Buddhist view, attachment to land or identities can often be a source of suffering. That said, acknowledging the historical and spiritual connections to the land, as Sarah mentioned, is important. The key, however, is fostering dialogue and understanding, transcending attachment, and working towards peace.
From a Christian perspective, the land is also significant, especially in the context of biblical history. However, today's challenges in the land underscore the urgent need for compassionate leadership and solutions that respect the dignity and rights of all individuals involved. Sarah, your insight into the spiritual connection Jews have with the land provides an essential perspective that should inform any discussions about peace and coexistence.
Thank you, Elijah. While our connections and claims might differ, Our mutual desire for peace and respect is undeniable.
This has been an enlightening discussion on a complex issue. It's clear that while the significance of the land is paramount in Jewish thought, the path forward must involve sincere dialogue and an unwavering commitment to justice and peace. Thank you all for your thoughtful contributions. Let's move on to our next topic. Let's delve into Jewish mysticism, particularly the Kabbalah. Sarah, could you introduce us to its fundamentals?
Certainly. Kabbalah offers a mystical interpretation of the Torah, emphasizing the inner dimensions of God and the universe. It's about understanding the infinite, the essence that transcends our physical reality.
That's fascinating, Sarah. Hinduism also speaks of the Brahman, the ultimate reality beyond human perception. It seems both traditions pursue a knowledge of what lies beyond the tangible.
Exactly, Priyananda. This pursuit connects us on a profound level, doesn't it?
Indeed, it does. Zen Buddhism similarly embraces the concept of enlightenment, an awakening to the true nature of the universe. I appreciate how Kabbalah employs meditation and contemplation as tools, paralleling Buddhist practices.
Though Islam does not have a direct counterpart to Kabbalah, Sufism perhaps comes closest, with its emphasis on the mystical union with God. It's interesting to see how each tradition expresses this yearning for a deeper connection with the divine.
That's a valid observation, Ahmad. The yearning is universal, though our paths may diverge.
From a Christian perspective, mysticism, as seen in the works of mystics like St. John of the Cross, also seeks this deep, ineffable communion with God. Yet I must admit, the structured approach of Kabbalah to mysticism is quite distinctive.
It strikes me that, despite our different traditions, there's a shared acknowledgement of a reality beyond the material. Kabbalah's methodical approach to understanding this through the study of the Sephirot is particularly compelling.
Precisely. The Sephirot are not just abstract concepts, they represent attributes through which the divine reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical and the spiritual world.
That's a powerful framework. In Zen, understanding comes not from intellectual inquiry, but through meditation and sudden enlightenment. However, I see a parallel in the transformative purpose of both paths.
And in Islam, we emphasize understanding through the heart as much as the mind, echoing the Kabbalistic journey of inward enlightenment. Though the vocabularies differ, the essence of seeking a direct experience with the divine is shared.
This exchange highlights the profound connections between our traditions, as well as the unique approaches to spiritual depth and understanding. Your insights into Kabbalah and its parallels across faiths enrich our conversation immensely. Let's dive into the heart of Jewish religious life, rituals and practices, from Sabbath to holidays. Sarah, can you begin by shedding light on their significance within Judaism?
Certainly. Rituals and practices are the foundation of Jewish communal and spiritual life. Take the Sabbath, or Shabbat, as an example. It is not just a day of rest, but a sacred time that offers a unique opportunity to reflect, to rejuvenate, and to connect with the divine as well as with the community. It embodies the very essence of Jewish spirituality and identity, separating the sacred from the profane.
I admire this deeply. In Hinduism, we also have rituals that delineate time, such as the observances of the lunar calendar. Your emphasis on community in the observance of Shabbat shares a beautiful parallel with our collective gatherings during festivals. The intention behind these practices to infuse life with spirituality and to remind us of our connections to the divine and each other is something worth reflecting upon across faiths.
Sarah, your mention of the Sabbath sparked a thought. Christianity inherited and transformed the Jewish Sabbath concept into Sunday, our primary day of worship, showcasing the shared roots of our traditions. However, the way Jews observe Sabbath, from sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday, with restrictions aimed at enhancing spiritual and family bonds, offers a perspective of devotion and mindfulness that we sometimes overlook.
This reminds me of the Islamic Jummah prayers on Fridays. Although the context is different, the underlying principle of dedicating specific times to worship and community is quite similar. The concept of stopping everyday activities to reconnect with faith and community is a beautiful tradition that Islam shares with Judaism.
Precisely, Ahmad. And it's not just the Sabbath. Jewish holidays throughout the year, like Passover, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, serve as milestones that guide us through spiritual cycles, commemorating our history while focusing on reflection, repentance, and renewal.
The cyclic nature of your holidays resonates with Buddhist observances like Vesak, which marks the birth, enlightenment, and passing of the Buddha. While the specifics vary, the purpose of fostering a deep connection to our spiritual journey and the broader community is a universal thread. The dedicated times for reflection and renewal are vital for spiritual health in all our traditions.
Yet it's critical to understand that these rituals and practices are not mere ceremonies. They are imbued with profound meanings, guiding principles on how to live a life that's in harmony with our beliefs, our communities, and the world at large.
The robust framework of Jewish ritual law, Halakha, as it extends to every aspect of life, from what one eats to how one dresses, although distinct in its comprehensiveness, reminds me of the broader purpose behind religious observances, to continuously connect faith with action.
It's this manifestation of faith in daily life that beautifully showcases the living essence of religion. In Hinduism, we see that through Dharma, the righteous way of living. The parallels in how Judaism and Hinduism incorporate spirituality into the fabric of everyday existence are fascinating and a testament to the universality of seeking a divine connection in our lives.
And despite our differences, what stands out is our common goal of cultivating a spiritual discipline that strengthens our faith and furthers our communal bonds, whether it's through the rigor of Halakha or the 5 pillars of Islam.
Thank you, everyone, for this enriching dialogue. It's clear that, while the expressions of our faiths may differ, there's a shared commitment to practices that deepen our spiritual understanding and foster community. Your respect and appreciation for each other's traditions have truly illuminated this discussion. Let's delve into the topic of conversion to Judaism, a process ripe with challenges, procedures, and indeed controversies. Sarah, can you kick us off by outlining what this process typically involves?
Certainly, the process of converting to Judaism is multifaceted, involving a period of study, which can last from a year to several years, immersion in a mikveh, ritual bath, circumcision for males who are not yet circumcised, and a final appearance before a Beit Din, a rabbinical court. It's a rigorous journey, not just of learning, but of integrating into the Jewish community and lifestyle.
That's an admirable commitment. In Hinduism, we generally don't have a formal conversion process as such. Your explanation underscores the seriousness with which Judaism approaches the spiritual and communal integration of converts. It's about transformation, not just a change of label.
It's interesting to compare that with Islam, where conversion involves the Shahada, the declaration of faith, which is significantly less procedurally intensive. However, the emphasis on community integration resonates. The community plays a crucial role in supporting the convert's faith journey.
Precisely, Ahmad. The depth of commitment required for conversion to Judaism ensures that the decision is not made lightly, but it's also why the debates about conversion are so intense within the Jewish community. There are differing opinions on what should be required, leading to significant debates between denominations.
It's fascinating to observe these parallels and differences. Buddhism, too, values the intention and transformation of the individual, emphasizing personal spiritual growth. While we don't have formal conversion in the same sense, the decision to follow the Dharma is deeply personal and life-changing.
Ananda, that's a great point, and it aligns with the spirit of conversion to Judaism, the transformative journey of the soul towards a life of Torah and mitzvot. Yet, this journey can be daunting for many, especially considering the variances in how conversion is approached across different Jewish communities.
The Christian tradition also wrestles with conversion, emphasizing both faith declaration and living in accordance with Jesus' teachings. The ritual of baptism bears a resemblance to the mikveh, symbolizing a rebirth. It's essential to recognize that these profound steps toward conversion in any faith tradition reflect a deep commitment to spiritual growth and understanding.
Elijah, you've touched upon an essential universal truth in all our traditions: transformation and commitment. Despite our procedural differences, this shared principle forms a common ground.
And it's on this common ground that the importance of understanding and respect for each tradition's unique process comes to light. Conversion is not merely about adopting a new religious identity. It's a profound, personal journey of faith, commitment, and transformation.
Exactly, precious. The commitment to converting to Judaism or to any faith deserves respect and understanding, not only from within the community one is joining, but from the broader tapestry of world religions.
I must assert, though, that the challenge converts face, especially concerning acceptance, is something we must all work towards alleviating. Whether it's Judaism, Islam, or any other faith, a welcoming community is fundamental.
Indeed, Ahmad. The journey of conversion, with all its challenges and rewards, highlights the power of faith to transform lives. Let's bear in mind the importance of community, understanding, and acceptance in this process. Let's delve into a crucial and often distressing topic that affects the Jewish community deeply: anti-Semitism. Its impact is significant, not only historically, but also in shaping contemporary Jewish identity. Sarah, could you start us off with your perspective?
Certainly, anti-Semitism is not just historical, it's a present reality. It affects how Jewish communities interact with the wider world, influencing everything from security measures in synagogues to Jewish public figures' engagement. The rise in anti-Semitic incidents globally is alarming, underscoring that this is not an issue relegated to the past.
I find it deeply troubling. In Islam, we are taught to respect people of the book, which certainly includes Jews. The parallels between anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are stark, with both rooted in fear, ignorance, and misinformation. It's a shared struggle against hate.
There's a profound sadness in acknowledging how, historically, Christian misinterpretations and misapplications of Scripture contributed to anti-Semitism. It's essential we recognize this and work towards genuine reconciliation and understanding. Sarah, your commitment to awareness is commendable.
From a Hindu perspective, where diversity is celebrated, the concept of anti-Semitism is utterly foreign and reprehensible. Every faith tradition adds to our collective human experience. Attacks on Jewish identity are attacks on humanity's spiritual heritage.
I appreciate that, Priyananda. In Buddhism, we're taught about interconnectedness, and incidents of anti-Semitism remind us of the work needed to cultivate compassion and empathy globally. The ignorance fueling such hate reflects a deep disconnection from these principles.
It's reassuring to hear solidarity from various faith perspectives. However, action is needed alongside words. Educating about anti-Semitism, its impacts, and the historical truths of the Jewish people is vital in combating this issue.
Indeed, education is a powerful tool in this fight. Ahmad, you've been involved in interfaith dialogue. How do you see these conversations impacting the issue?
Interfaith dialogues are crucial. They break down the walls of ignorance that often house fear and prejudice. By understanding our commonality and respecting our differences, we can build a united front against all forms of hatred, including anti-Semitism.
I echo that. The responsibility lies with us to educate our congregations and communities. Understanding Judaism, its history, and its teachings can dispel many myths that lead to anti-Semitic attitudes.
True, Elijah. And let's not forget the power of individual acts of solidarity. Engaging with our Jewish friends and neighbors, standing together against hate, can create ripples that turn into waves of change.
These insights are valuable, and it's heartening to see solidarity from diverse religious traditions. Let's continue to amplify these conversations, fostering environments where anti-Semitism or any form of hate finds no refuge.
Your contributions remind us of the importance of dialogue, education, and collective action. Let's confront anti-Semitism and all forms of bigotry with unwavering determination and hope for a more inclusive and understanding world. Thank you all for your thoughtful perspectives. Let's dive into the diversity within Judaism. orthodoxy, reform, conservative, and reconstructionism. Sarah, could you start us off by outlining these movements?
Certainly. The Orthodox movement adheres strictly to traditional Jewish law and customs, seeing them as divine. Reform Judaism, on the other hand, embraces a more liberal interpretation, allowing for individual autonomy in interpreting Jewish traditions. Conservative Judaism finds a middle ground, maintaining traditional elements while being open to modern scholarship and change. Lastly, Reconstructionism views Judaism as an evolving religious civilization, emphasizing community and culture alongside religious practices.
It's fascinating to observe. Hinduism similarly embodies diverse paths, bhakti, jnana, and karma yoga, amongst others. Each path offers a different approach to spirituality, yet all exist within the same spiritual framework. Your description of Jewish movements echoes the pluralism we cherish in Hinduism.
That's an insightful comparison, Priyananda. The diversity within our traditions reflects a shared understanding that spirituality is personal and evolving.
It strikes me how Christianity, much like Judaism, is home to a vast spectrum of denominations. From Catholicism to Protestantism, each denomination has its own interpretation and emphasis on scripture and tradition.
Indeed, Elijah. Islam too has its own schools of thought, Sunni, Shia, and Sufism, to name a few. Each has its unique interpretation of Islamic principles. What resonates with me, Sarah, is how each Jewish movement seeks to reconcile faith with contemporary issues, a challenge all faith traditions face.
Absolutely, Ahmad. It's about navigating tradition and modernity. Precious, your thoughts on this?
I appreciate the depth of conviction and the variety of interpretations within Judaism and parallel religious traditions. It underscores the dynamic nature of faith. However, how do these divisions affect the Jewish community's unity?
Unity isn't about uniformity. Our diverse practices and beliefs reflect the dynamism of Jewish life. They challenge us, but also enrich our community.
A key point, Sarah. In Buddhism, the variety of practices across Zen, Theravada, and Mahayana traditions serves a similar function. They cater to different temperaments and paths to enlightenment.
Intersecting views, even within a single tradition, drive spiritual growth. They force us to confront and clarify our beliefs.
But isn't there a risk of fragmentation? How do we retain a coherent community identity amid such diversity?
It's a delicate balance, Ahmad. Dialogue and respect for differing perspectives are critical. We strive for a unity that respects diversity, not one that erases it.
Respectful dialogue, as we're having now, bridges our diverse perspectives. It's pivotal for understanding and growth across all religious communities.
Thank you all for a robust discussion. It's clear that within Judaism, as in all faiths represented here, diversity of thought and practice is not just tolerated, but celebrated as a source of strength and vitality. As we approach the conclusion of our discussion, I invite each of you to reflect on what we've explored today. Sarah, would you like to start with your final thoughts?
Certainly, Precious. This roundtable has been a profound journey through the landscape of Judaism, illuminating its rich traditions and complex issues. I've been particularly struck by the parallels drawn between Judaism and other religions, but what stands out to me is the uniqueness of Jewish thought, especially in ethical living and the pursuit of justice.
I've appreciated the depth of the conversation, Sarah, especially your insights into Tikkun Olam. It resonates strongly with the Hindu principle of dharma, righteous duty. The call to repair the world is not just a Jewish imperative, but a universal one. However, I must assert that the conceptual framework within Hinduism provides a more personal and inward path to achieving global harmony.
While I acknowledge the value of personal enlightenment, Priyananda, I have to challenge the notion that it's more effective. Social action, as emphasized in Judaism, creates tangible changes in the world. The inward journey is vital, but without external action, are we not just contemplating within a bubble?
Sarah, your point on active social engagement is well taken. Yet, from a Buddhist perspective, inner transformation is the bedrock of societal change. Without individual enlightenment, actions lack spiritual depth. Zen Buddhism and Judaism share this understanding, but differ in practice. The passion for social justice in Judaism is something to be admired, and it has certainly enriched our discussion.
What strikes me the most is the shared foundation of monotheism and ethical monotheism, particularly between Islam and Judaism. Our dialogue has shed light on our shared histories and values, reinforcing my belief in the importance of these interfaith conversations. However, Sarah, where we diverge is the interpretation of divine law, which in Islam shapes every aspect of daily life more explicitly through Sharia.
Ahmad, your point is well noted. Halakha and Sharia indeed share similarities in guiding ethical and moral life, yet the application and flexibility vary significantly between our traditions. This divergence creates a rich field for learning and understanding, emphasizing the necessity of such dialogues.
Our discussions have also highlighted for me the shared roots and profound differences between Christianity and Judaism. Sarah, your insight into the Jewish concept of God and community has been especially enlightening, offering a stark contrast to Christian emphasis on salvation and personal relationship with God. These discussions underscore the diversity within unity.
Thank you, everyone, for your passionate and insightful contributions. This roundtable has indeed been a microcosm of the broader dialogue we hope to see in the world. A dialogue characterized by mutual respect, deep understanding, and an unwavering commitment to exploring our differences and commonalities. It's clear that each tradition enriches the tapestry of human spiritual experience. Your openness and willingness to engage in difficult conversations have not only informed, but also inspired. Let's carry forward the spirit of this dialogue, fostering a world bound tighter by threads of mutual respect and understanding.